The purpose of this video is to show you how to use Fusion 360 to create a drawing. In class, we've been talking about multi-view drawings and how we have to have all the dimensions lined up, and we have the isometric in the upper right-hand corner, and then we look at it from the top, the front, and the right views. So in my original recording of this video, I actually went through the design process for designing this, and I liked it because I used the spline tool to create that neat looking arc there, but in order to do a design, you actually have to have a drawing, you have to have a saved design, and then I already saved it, so we just have to go from here. So once you have your design and once you have it saved in Fusion, you can use Fusion to create those multi-views, and it's really nice because it can be really challenging to try to visualize what that orthogonal view looks like. So to create a drawing in Fusion, you first need to save your design. And for this, we're working on the stairs with the holes in them. Okay, so you should have that design. You're going to pull that design up, and then you're going to come over here to the Files tab in the upper left and click the arrow to drop down, and we want to come down to New Drawing. Now, for this class, we're always going to pick From Design. That's where we're going to go to access our drawings. That's going to bring up a dialog box. We are going to create the drawing, a new drawing from scratch. We are going to use ASME. I believe that's the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. Our default units should be in inches, but if yours is in millimeters, go ahead and change it over. And then for the sheet size, we're going to pick sheet size A. Now, there's obviously lots of different sheet sizes you can go with, but size A is your 8.5 by 11, which means that we can save them and print them, and because that's good without getting special paper for a printer. So I'm going to have this oriented, I guess vertically. We'll do 8.5 by 11 and click OK. And it's going to take a second and bring this up. Now, I'm not entirely sure why it's doing this. This is a little bit new where it's floating my design there, and it says place the base view, but this isn't the view that I want for the front. So if you're looking at this, it says this is going to be my front view. But remember, when we're choosing the front view, we want like the longest side, but we also want like the face that's got the most distinctive profile. And if you're looking at this, it's a rectangle. So it's definitely not the most distinctive profile. So I'm going to come over here and pick what it was showing as the top, but I'm going to make that my front view because that's the right choice for the front view. And click to place it, and then click OK. And notice that it is giving me just that front profile view there of my weird little design. Up here in the upper left in this Create panel, we've got the base view. That's what we just did. Okay, and your base view is going to be your front view. So click base view, and then you can place your base view if you've get in here and you start clicking around and you're like, I don't know what that's up. What's up with that? All right, now we need to get the top, the right, and the isometric. Now, doing this by hand, can be challenging to kind of picture like where are the hidden lines, where are the holes, how do we get everything lined up? But Fusion will do it for us. So we're going to click on Projected View. Okay, and you can read the description. It creates projected, orthogonal, and isometric views of the design. Select a parent view, then place projected views as required. So we're going to click that. It asks me to select the parent view. So when you're using Fusion, Fusion has a lot of things in it that will help you. The little dialog boxes, the things you can hover over, but you got to slow yourself down and read them. So select the parent view. Now I can just drag my mouse up to the top. It automatically does the top view. I click my mouse to place it. Then I move my mouse over to the upper right corner. It automatically generates that isometric with the front, the top, and the right-hand side. Click my mouse to place it, and then bring it down to the lower right. And when I get down here, like you guys can't see what I'm doing with the mouse. You can kind of see the arrow. Maybe you can see the arrow moving up and down, but it's not actually moving the object up and down, and that's because it's locked in because of that front view. And then I'm going to click that to place and then exit out of that by clicking the green arrow. Okay, now just to note that I'm going to click my front view. Notice that when I'm clicking and dragging my front view, the top view and the right view automatically move with it. That's that idea that it's got to be lined up perfectly. So if I drag my front view down, my right view has to go down with it. If I drag it to the left or to the right, the top view has to move with it. If I try clicking on the right view, it will let me move it side to side, but it's not letting me move it up and down at all. And that's that multi-view, that the fact that everything has to line up. Now, before we move on, take a look at the different lines in this, because we talked about line conventions, and on the afternoon I'm recording this, we had just done the multi-view drawings, and I made a lot of comments and stuff on the worksheets about the different lines. So looking at this, you can see that there are these two hidden lines that are dashed in that top view. Those two hidden lines line up with the whole. They don't tell me what the detail is. It just tells you something is there. Then there's a solid line. That solid line lines up with this edge where the arc meets the horizontal segment. And then we have another hidden line, and that corresponds with this edge down here. Okay, can't see that edge from the top view, but it tells you that there is something happening there. Looking at the right-hand view, we've got a solid line representing this edge right here, and you can see that edge from the right-hand side. We have the two hidden lines showing that there is a hole there, and then we have that bottom edge that's visible from the right hand side. And so Fusion will get all of those lines right for you. Now, typically with the isometric, there's different ways that you can choose to view it. So I'm going to right click on the isometric and click edit view, and it will let me change the appearance of the isometric. And so I'm going to choose this one that will give the appearance of the solid object. Also note the scale on that, okay, like what kind of scale you're using. So if you're in geometry and you're doing any kind of work with proportions, like all of that math comes into play. So I'm going to close that out. Now, the last thing I want to cover in this is dimensioning, and there are all kinds of rules for dimensioning on a drawing, and we will cover those rules in class. Like, you cannot dimension to a hidden line. You have to have everything dimensioned, but not over dimensioned. So we don't want to put the same dimension on there twice. Just like in design mode, when you're in the drawing part of Fusion, you get the same little icon there for dimensioning. And I'm going to go ahead and click. I'm going to zoom in. And it's not like letting me pick what I want. Select an edge or specify a point. No, that is not what I wanted to do. Let me come over here. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. And so I just clicked on either end, and it's the default is in inches. Now, when I go to drag this, I'm going to drag it down far enough so that it doesn't get in the way of anything else I want to dimension. I might also want to dimension this. Okay. And when you're dimensioning, you want to make sure that you don't cross your dimension lines. So you don't want to put like this. Let me see if it'll let me move it. Nope. Don't want to do that. Yeah, you don't want to do that because that's confusing and you got the lines crossing each other. So when you're placing your dimension lines, you want to be intentional about it so that everything that you're dimensioning is really, really clear. Now, I chose to dimension the width on the top view because there's no great place to do it on the front view. All right, now let's say I want to dimension the height. I'm actually going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click and then drag that out. And you want to make sure that you're not over dimensioning. So for example, if I click here and I dimension that to 1.9, but then I click here and here, that's called over dimensioning, because that's actually the same thing. I dimensioned the same piece of it from the front and from the right hand side. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you don't over dimension anything. You also don't need to dimension more than, like, for example, if I dimension from here to here, okay, I don't need to dimension this part from the bottom, because I know that they have to add up to 4.02. That's actually a little bit crowded. I don't like that. Like, it was just a little bit crowded for me. This has definitely changed last year, like some update that they ran. This is not running the same way. So when you're dimensioning, you do want to make sure that you don't over dimension, you don't under dimension. Everything has to have that measure to it. And I think you do want to pay attention to like how it looks visually. So that's a lot more comfortable to look at than what I did before, trying to cram it up there. And you implicitly know what that dimension is, because you know it has to add up to 4.02. Now, one of the rules of dimensioning is that you have to keep all your dimensions in the inside space here. So what we don't want to do is click on that circle and drag. That is not, come on. And drag the dimension for that circle out, but it's not letting me. It did it for a second. There we go. Oh, now it, come on. Okay, there we go. So we've got the diameter of the circle. We want to try to avoid dragging it to the outside. And that's just one of those rules where you're not supposed to dimension in the margins. So that's why up here, I dragged it down instead of dragging it up, and I dragged these in instead of dragging them out. Now, I would like to move. Let me move it. It's not letting me select the object. Okay, I'm not going to waste any more time with it. So I would want to place it over here in the first place. Now, it's not a hard and fast rule. So there are times when, transform. Ooh. Just, okay, leave it alone. There are times when you might put it in the outside margin. You just need to be prepared to explain why you made that choice. So I might pick this segment right here and put it in that outside margin. And my reasoning would be, well, to place that dimension up here, I would have to cross the dimension lines all the way across. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Like, that's just messy. And it also creates this other line here that you can't distinguish from the object line. So we really don't want to do that if we can help it. So for that case, you might, this definitely does not work the same way it did a year ago. So you would explain, like, I put the 3.37 in that outside space because there was no good place to put it. There was no good way to get it onto the inside. But if you can get it on the inside, you will. The other big thing is that you cannot dimension to a hidden line. So this dimension right here, the 1.36, has to be dimensioned on either the right or the front. You cannot go in here and try to dimension that from the top view. I'm actually not even sure you can get it from the top view. I think it's yeah, you can't even see it from the top view. But see where the circle is? You have to dimension the circle from the view that shows the circle. You cannot do this. Okay, notice that it says 0.49, but that is dimensioning to hidden lines. That is not okay. Okay, no dimensioning to hidden lines. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And it's going to ask me what to delete. I'll get better at this. So that's how you create a drawing in Fusion 360. Your task is going to be to create a drawing from our little steps with holes, and to get everything placed and hopefully to get it dimensioned without violating any of the dimension rules. So I'm sorry that this video was a little bit bumpy in places. I am getting used to this not working the same way it did a year ago. So I apologize for that, but hopefully it did go through everything you need to know. And I am going to put a little quiz on Go Formative to just make sure that you watched this video.